Hey guys, Coach Logan here, and I'm going to do another video on solving puzzles. So uh, let's get started here. Okay, so this is an endgame one. These ones are always pretty tricky. I notice we have this large mass of pawns in the center, which makes me think that the tactic is going to somehow involve creating a successful passed pawn. At first I was looking at something like d6, just trying to get these pawns going, and then if the pawn takes, trying to play f6 and seeing, like, if we could then get e6 in, we would be winning. Unfortunately, they can play d takes e5, and they, at least to me, they seem able to stop our f pawn. If we try f7, they can play king e7, and it seems we're getting stopped. We could try f6 directly. If f6 directly, if they play e takes f6, we can play e takes f6. At that point, we'd be threatening to play pawn to... No, okay, I thought we'd be threatening to play pawn to d6, but they could still take and then get back to e7 in time. So this one's tough. I'm still considering f6. If we play f6, e takes f6, e takes f6, I think we might actually be threatening to get f7 in, and then if they were to play king to e7, we could play d6 check, at which point that'll defend the f7 pawn. They can't take on d6 because we'd be ready to queen, so they'd have to play something like king to to f8, at which point we could play d7, and then I think their king is overwhelmed. I don't see how their knight gets back in time to stop this. Yeah, I think I like f6 here. Okay, so that's correct. I think I gotta take this here. Alright, h3. So what I wanted to do was play f7 here, king e7, d6 check, king f8, d7, and I think I'm threatening a queen before he can do something about it. So f7, d6 check, yeah, and again, he can't take our pawn on d6 because we promote. He can't take our pawn on f7 because the bishop is now defending it, and if he plays king to f8, which is the only move that stops us from queening, then we could play d7, and basically his king can't stop both of those pawns. So, okay. That one wasn't too bad. I just, I want to be careful and thorough when I'm doing these. Alright, let's do the next one. Okay, so this one, what's going on here? White is up a piece, but black clearly has an attack going on. We've got our queen, our rook, our knight all sort of swarming the white king. Question is how to make a successful attack out of that. We could play rook to h8 because then we can play. Then we're threatening queen to h2, and the knight is covering the f2 square, so they can't play rook takes d2. Excuse me. So rook h8 definitely looks appealing. It also brings a piece into the attack that we're not currently using. So the question then is, what can they do if we play rook h8? Somehow they need space for their king to escape. They could try, something like rook to d1, and then if we play queen to queen to h2, then they could play king f1. But even there, then I think we can play queen h1, and I think they're getting ladder mated essentially. So yeah, I'm really liking rook to h8. I'm kind of ready to play it now, but I'm just double checking in case I'm missing anything. I mean, rook h8 is very direct. It's threatening queen to h2. Yeah, I think it's got to be rook h8. Oh, okay. I should have been more thorough. All right, well, let's see what the answer is. Okay, queen c5 check, and then rook h8 is just winning. Okay, but I'm wondering, I'm curious. I'm not satisfied with that because I want to know what was wrong with rook to h8. So if we play rook h8, what could they do? Maybe they could play rook f2, and then if we play, okay, and then the point is if we play rook takes f2, they can play rook takes f2. If we then play knight takes f2, they have king takes f2. Likewise, if they go rook f2 and we go queen h2, so rook h8, rook f2, queen h2 check. If they go king f1, then queen h1 would not lead to mate anymore because the rook would be on the second rank guarding against ladder mating ideas. Like after queen h1, bishop h1, rook h1, they'd have king g2. Okay, so yeah, queen c5 is better. I should have caught that. Sometimes it's hard to catch, like, to have this full board vision and see the queen going sideways. It's, you know, but once you see it, it's actually really straightforward. So I should have, you know, it's kind of basic, but they say look at all checks first, and I failed to do that on this one, and let's see if we can do a better job on this next one. All right, so we get another endgame one. Our c pawn, I think, is our best asset. It's closest to queening. However, white's king is definitely in the square of that pawn. Excuse me. Also, white's g pawn is pretty threatening. So what should black play here? I think this might be one where we need to save the position because white is, I think, threatening g4, and then it'll be quite difficult to stop his g-pawn. So, for instance, if we don't move our king over closer now and they get g4, and then we'll be outside the square of that pawn and they could just run it down the board. So I'm considering moves that get our king closer or playing h5 just to slow this pawn down. But I'm not so sure. Yeah, I also think trying to bring the king over might just be too slow anyway. Like, say we play king b6, g4, king c6, g5, and then if we play h takes g5, then they can play h5, and we're not even in the square of the h pawn. So I'm really wondering if we should start with h5. They could still try g4 to create a pass pawn, but then we could play h takes g4, and then the combination of our g pawn and our c pawn should mean we're okay, right? So if h5, g4, h takes g4, h5, we could then play c4. We should be able to queen if we can get down there in time, and if they play something like, let's say after c4 they go h6, c3, if they don't move their king, we'll promote. If they play king e2, then we can go g3, and we should be able to promote one of the pawns. If we play h5 and they go king to f3, then again, I still think we can play c4 and hold this. I think it's h5, but it's hard. Okay, h5 is correct. All right, and now I think we take this. And okay, this pawn is a threat, but we're going to use the combination of our pass c pawn and our pass g pawn to sort of split their king's defenses, and we should be at least queening at the same. I mean, white might queen a move ahead, but we should be queening on the next move. In which case, will actually be up a pawn. I don't know if that's winning, but I mean, they might have a way, like, I don't know, queen g7 check and picking up the g-pawn. So I'm not sure. I don't think it's winning. I think we're just holding. But okay, it was an interesting problem. Maybe let's do one more. Okay, so what's going on in this one? So we've got some pressure on h2. I'm noticing white's loose bishops on c4 and on h6. I'm very tempted to play queen h4 right away. That would attack c4, it would attack h6, and it would attack h2. It seems like a very obvious move, but as we've seen in one of the earlier examples, when I played what felt like an obvious move, that turned out not to be correct. So I'm just trying to double check and look for resources. Excuse me. If queen h4, I'm trying to look for aggressive ideas for white, you know, maybe some involving our king, but our bishop is covering g7. They can't easily get into f6. I'm not really seeing them. I don't know, queen h4 looks very tempting. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Queen h4, threatening queen h2. Like, I was even seeing if there were tricks connected to rook takes e5, but, you know, just d takes e5. They still can't even play queen f6 because our queen is covering that. You know, our rook on a8 is defended by the rook on e8. I'm not seeing it. I'm going to try it. Queen h4. Okay, that's correct. All right, they played rook takes e5. We don't want to play rook takes e5 because they have queen takes a8, so we've got to play d takes e5. Rook to d7. Okay, maybe this is their big resources. They're attacking f7. And here, I guess if we take on c4, then are they getting ready to play queen f6? But I feel like they've got back rank issues too, maybe. Well, we can't play... Let's see. Okay, if we take on c4 and they go queen f6, we cannot play queen to c1 because of their bishop on h6. So I'm wondering if we should take instead the bishop on h6. If we play queen takes h6, then if they go bishop takes bishop takes f7, I still think we can play bishop takes f7, and if queen takes f7 check, king h8, and I actually don't see another check for white. So I'm going to go ahead and play queen takes h6. Yeah. And I think we want to play bishop takes f7 here. Now, I know it looks like it invites the queen in, but I think it's actually important for our queen to defend f6. So I'm going to play bishop takes f7. And I think despite the scariness of their rook and queen on the 7th rank, I think after king h8 we're out of the woods. So, all right, so that was an interesting problem. I saw the main idea. I should have considered some of their later ones in this, but I still think it's good enough. Okay, so I got most of them, but... that one earlier, I should have seen queen c5, but I'll put this one up, and I'll see you guys next video. Thank you.